The story kicks off with a woman named Itcha who starts telling us, through narration, about her bizarre dreams. She says that every night she has this dream where she finds herself in an unfamiliar but super peaceful place. In this mysterious spot, she walks up to a gorgeous, mansion-like house and meets a really attractive and mysterious guy there. This guy shows up in her dreams every night, and a deep connection is starting to form between the two of them. Itcha feels like all this is completely real, like it's not a dream but real life. But the real shocker hits when the second the guy starts getting close to Itcha, we see the buttons on Itcha's clothes start popping open on their own in the real world. That means some supernatural power was actually taken over her in reality. And right then, all of a sudden, we see a terrifying spirit, a demon, getting intimate with Itcha in the real world. And Itcha has no clue about it. She just thinks it's all a dream. Now, the minute the doorbell rings at 4 a.m., Itcha wakes up. She gets up, a little surprised, but deep down, she's happy because of her dream. When she goes downstairs and opens the door, we see her husband, Ariel, who's a security guard by trade. Even today, he's coming home late after working overtime. But these late night shifts are now a daily thing, and you can clearly see the effect it's having on their relationship. Itcha, who's not the same person she used to be, tells her husband to hang his jacket upright. Ariel does it, but then the mysterious demon knocks the jacket right down, like he wants to drive an even bigger wedge between them. After that, they start an argument, like always, and Ariel, mad, just goes to sleep without eating anything. The next morning, when Ariel comes downstairs for breakfast, Itcha just quietly gets up and walks away while she's looking at her phone. The two of them aren't even talking anymore. Now we see Itcha go to work, but her mood is totally shot. Then her friend and co-worker Linda walks up, and she gets it all just by looking at Itcha's face. The couple had another fight last night. Meanwhile, Ariel is also all alone and quiet. Both of them are just drowning in their own misery. While they're at work, when Itcha and Linda sit down for lunch, we find out from their chat that Ika's been married for 3 years. Before they got married, everything in Ika and Ariel's life was awesome. Ariel used to make Ika feel special about all the little things, sometimes with gifts and sometimes by planning surprises. But now Ika feels like all that sweetness is gone. No romantic talk, no special gifts. The relationship has just turned into a boring routine. Linda, who's a close friend and co-worker of Ika's, tries to explain that a lot changes in life after you get married. New responsibilities pop up, and you gotta change the way you handle the relationship too. She also tells Ichem that she herself has given up on trying the way she used to. She doesn't dress up anymore. She doesn't talk to Ariel the way she used to either. So the change happened on both sides. Linda's words hit close to home for Itcha. Now Itcha realizes that the love and closeness in their marriage have slowly faded away. She couldn't even remember the last time they spent some quality time together. Linda tells her to try a little tonight, get all dressed up, and make her husband feel the love and warmth he used to give her. Itcha agrees to it. Over at Ariel's office, his senior tells him that overtime and responsibilities are one thing, but it's also important to spend time with your wife. Ariel gets it, because everything he's doing is for Itcha's future, right? Even though he comes home a little late that day, the vibe is different this time. Itcha welcomes him warmly. She even takes off his jacket herself and has tea already made for him. Ariel is absolutely thrilled by this change in her. For the first time, he feels like his efforts are being appreciated. Slowly, they start getting closer again. But the minute they start getting intimate, the house lights start flickering all weird. And right then, we see that same demon who used to show up in Itcha's dreams is right there between them again at that very moment. He's still attached to Itcha. Then, when Itcha's sleeping that night, she finds herself in that same strange building she used to go to. That handsome guy, the demon, walks up to her there and puts a flower on her body saying, "You can never leave this place now." Scared, Itcha tries to get out the building's door, but this time, the door won't open. Then the demon walks toward her and suddenly, Itcha wakes up. But the most shocking thing was that the exact same flower the demon gave her in the dream was laying right next to Itcha's bed in real life. Seeing that, Itcha is totally shaken with fear. The next day, when Itcha comes downstairs, Ariel has made breakfast for her himself. Itcha loves all of it. They sit together, smiling and talking openly while they remember their old good times. In that moment, Ariel apologizes to Itcha and promises that he's going to try to fix everything and they'll start fresh. It was like everything was starting over from scratch. Itcha accepts what he says from the heart too. Itcha was going to be a little late coming home that day because after work, she was going to go meet her little sister Ima. Meanwhile, Ariel himself drove her to the office on his scooter, and you could see the happiness all over Linda's face when she saw that. Itcha was in a better mood at the office that day too, and she was focusing on her work. But then she spots something in a box that totally chills her to the bone. that same flower, exactly like the one she saw in her dream. Icha was just about to pick it up when someone else walks up and snags the flower. And then the same guy from Icha's dreams, that handsome dude, shows up. He starts walking slowly toward her. But the second Icha sees his shadow in the nearby mirror, she's totally freaked out. It wasn't a person she saw in the reflection, but the terrifying image of a demon. Panicked, Icha feels like she's going to throw up, and she sprints toward the bathroom. The minute Icha gets to the bathroom and throws up, we see that same dark figure, the demon, standing behind her. Then Linda walks in too and asks Icha how she's feeling, but Icha just walks out quietly without saying a word. After Icha leaves, Linda looks toward the sink and her jaw drops. There was blood in the vomit, along with worms. That same night, Icha meets her sister Ima at a roadside cafe. During their talk, Ima tells her that she broke up with her boyfriend, Dasta, because he got so busy that he never had time for Ima. Because of that, they were always fighting. On this, Icha gives Ima the same advice Linda once gave her, that every relationship has its ups and downs. And in times like this, you gotta be patient and smart about things. She says that Dasta was with Ima for 2 years, and he deserves another chance. In reality, both sisters were feeling lonely and emotionally distant in their relationships. But the only difference was that they didn't want to see their own flaws. Now, while Ima was pouring her heart out to her sister, she mentions that she recently went to visit their parents. During the conversation, their parents told her that they want to hold their grandkid now. This was really meant for Icha. The minute Ima says that, Icha's face gets a little sad because she'd been trying to get pregnant herself, but she kept having problems. She had to rely on medicine, and all this was putting a strain on her relationship with Ariel too. Icha texts Ariel to go get these medicines. Meanwhile, Ariel's at his office. Then he catches a glimpse of Icha. But how was that possible? She was with her sister right now. Ariel is shocked and thinks maybe his eyes are playing tricks on him, or something else is going on. But then he hears someone scream inside the building. It sounded like Icha's voice. Ariel follows the sound and gets to an empty corner of the building. That's where he sees Icha standing in a super weird way. It looks like she's in labor, and suddenly, a strange scene unfolds in front of him. A baby is born from Icha's lap, but it's not a normal baby. It's a demonic infant. Ariel's face goes pale with fear, and he just freezes right there. But Icha is just staring at him with a strange smile. Then the baby starts crawling toward Ariel, and right then, Ariel Sr. walks in. The minute he shows up, everything suddenly goes back to normal, like nothing happened. Shaken by this experience, Ariel heads home and doesn't even talk to Icha properly that night. He just hands her the medicine and says that he called a special body massage expert, Mobosari, for the next day. Saying that, he quietly goes to sleep. The next morning, while Mobosari is massaging Icha, she advises her to relax and stress less. But while she's massaging her stomach, she drops a bombshell. "You're 3 months pregnant." Hearing this, Icha's eyes light up with happiness. But on the flip side, Ariel's face goes numb. The reason was that he'd only been intimate with Icha 2 days earlier, and before that, they hadn't been together for about 6 months. So, the question was, if Icha was 3 months pregnant, who was the father? Ariel doesn't let on what he's thinking though. He just drops Icha off at the office and comes back home. When Icha tells everyone at the office about her pregnancy, a wave of happiness spreads through the place. Everyone congratulates her, because they all knew how long she'd been waiting for this. But Linda looks a little worried. She remembers Icha's vomiting and the blood and worms. All of that started making her feel uneasy inside. When she tries to talk to Icha about it, Icha feels like Linda might not be happy about her being pregnant. She misunderstands Linda and starts keeping her distance, and the conversation ends abruptly. The anxiety wouldn't leave Linda's mind. She couldn't see Icha throwing up blood and worms as normal, no matter what. It was clear to her that some strange and unseen power was involved in this whole thing. Meanwhile, that night, Ariel is sitting with his senior and talking honestly. He opens up about his suspicions and fears about Icha. He was starting to think Icha had cheated on him. The senior advises him to spend the whole next day with Icha and try to figure things out right. He even offers to cover Ariel's work himself. Ariel agrees to it, but as he's walking toward his car in the parking lot, he hears a baby crying from inside a car. Curious, when he peeks inside the car, he sees a scary, abnormal baby, a demonic infant. Ariel takes off from there without thinking twice, and then the camera shows that same demon who's got Icha in his grip is sitting there, smiling, holding the infant in his lap. This scene makes it clear that the child growing inside Icha is not a normal baby. Scared, Ariel gets home and checks Icha's phone because of his suspicion. There he sees a name, Denny, Icha's old classmate, who she'd recently been talking to. And when Ariel finds out that Denny's also having problems with his wife, his suspicion gets even stronger. He starts thinking that Ika's baby might be Denny's. When he asks Ika about this, she gets mad. She tells Ariel that they'll go to the doctor the next day for a DNA test so the truth can come out. But Ika was also worried inside because she couldn't understand how she could be 3 months pregnant, since they hadn't been intimate for the past 6 months, except for the last 2 days. The next day, after they get to the doctor, they do an ultrasound and a checkup, and the report is shocking. There was no baby in Ika's stomach. The doctors say this is a mental condition called false pregnancy or pseudocyesis. In this condition, a woman's body acts like she's pregnant, her periods stop, and her stomach swells up, but there's actually nothing in the womb. This condition usually happens when a woman has a super intense desire to be a mother. Ika is devastated to hear the truth, and Ariel is completely stunned too. In this confusion, she talks to Linda, and Linda decides to take her to an old acquaintance, Ustad's Johnny. Linda was totally sure that this wasn't just a mental thing, but that there was some supernatural involvement. When they get to Ustad's Johnny, the minute he sees Ika, he sees another being standing behind her. The same demon that showed up before, but this time in human form. The Ustad's immediately understands that this is a deep problem, but he acts normal with Ika and invites her in and listens carefully to what she says. During their talk, Johnny slowly tries to explain to Ika that she's not actually pregnant, but sometimes there are these forces, especially jinn or dark entities, that break into people's dreams to break up relationships and get intimate with women. The result of this is constant misunderstandings and fights between lovers or married couples. Ika still wasn't ready to believe that there was no baby in her stomach. Full of anger, she gets up from Johnny's place and goes home, and Linda stays with her at her house to give her some support. Linda tries to talk her through it. She listens carefully to what she says and acts like a real friend to make her feel better. But the minute Linda takes off for her own house, she spots a small kitten by the side of the road, not far from the house. Linda, being a good person, picks it up and moves it off the road to the side. But as she's walking toward her scooter, she feels like the kitten is following her. When she turns around to look, no one's there. Suspicious, she goes back to the spot where she left the kitten and sees a shadow that looks like a person, but it's weird. When she walks closer to see, she realizes that it's not a normal person, but the same jinn who's been messing with Icha. Before Linda can even do anything, the jinn attacks her and kills her. At the exact same time, Icha suddenly wakes up from a terrifying dream. She saw the entire scene of Linda's death in her dream. Panicked, she sprints to the spot, and there's already a crowd there. Linda's bloody body was laying on the ground. Seeing this, Icha is totally heartbroken. She bursts into tears and cries uncontrollably. Right then, Ariel, seeing Icha in that state, runs toward her and tries to comfort her. But the second he looks at Icha's stomach, he's shocked. Her stomach was so swollen now that it looked like she was 7 or 8 months pregnant. But in reality, there was no medical confirmation of that. Now, Janny's words slowly start making sense to Icha. She tells Ariel everything about her dreams, about the jinn's effect on her, and why she hadn't told him any of this until now. Ariel understands her emotions this time and decides to stick by her. Icha was blaming herself for Linda's death. She felt like Linda was killed because she took her to Janny for help. Now, she wanted to get rid of this evil force no matter what. She goes back to Ustad's Johnny with Ariel and her little sister Emma. This time, Johnny starts a deep, spiritual session. He starts a small exorcism to try and get the evil spirit inside Icha out. During the chanting, Icha's body starts shaking. Her face starts changing, and then the jinn inside her starts talking, who thinks of himself as Icha's husband and says no one has the right to touch her. But Johnny keeps chanting without being scared. During this chanting, Icha also gets sharp pains in her stomach. It was like that demonic child growing inside was also bothered by the process. Finally, the minute the chanting is over, Icha's body goes still. She goes back to normal. Johnny explains that she was dealing with a powerful jinn named Dasim, a jinn who's known for breaking up relationships between different couples. He often comes into women's dreams to be intimate with them and confuse them. He had trapped Icha the same way, and Icha's pregnancy was really the result of his mental, emotional, and spiritual hold over her, not a biological process. Now Johnny advises Icha to keep doing ruqya regularly. Ruqya is considered a spiritual healing method in Islam. It involves reading specific verses from the Quran every day, and different verses are set for every type of problem. Ustad's Johnny also writes an Arabic verse on a piece of paper for Icha to read daily to maintain spiritual protection. Coming home, Icha and Ariel sit down and talk. They both admit that they were both responsible for the distance that grew between them. They apologize to each other and decide to give their relationship a fresh start. For the next few weeks, everything is normal and calm. Aicha's mind was way more stable than before. No scary dreams, no weird feelings. Ariel is taking great care of her too. 14 days fly by without her having any contact with the jinn. One day when they're out for dinner, Ariel tells her that his company wants to transfer him. His promotion is set for another branch, but the work will be in a different city. At first, Ariel is unsure about it. He's worried about Aicha's condition. But when Aicha assures him that she's fine now, she convinces him to go. The next day, Ariel takes off for the city. As soon as he leaves, the house feels a little empty to Aicha. She calls Emma to come stay with her for a while. But Emma can't make it because of her shift. To fight the loneliness, Aicha reads the Arabic verse Ustad's Johnny gave her. Then she turns on the TV and just lies down on the sofa. Right there, she feels a heavy presence, like someone's eyes are on her. The next morning, she goes to her office. But the vibe there is weird. Everyone's staring at her and saying weird stuff. It was like they were all being controlled by someone. Everyone was saying the same thing. "You're mine." Aicha is terrified and immediately leaves work and goes back home. That night, Emma comes to stay with her. Aicha was scared to death. She feels like she's stuck in that situation again. She was blaming herself, thinking maybe one of her decisions messed everything up again. Emma comforts her and says that the minute Ariel gets back, they'll go to Ustad's Johnny again. Just then, Ariel calls. He was on his way and was going to be home in a few hours. Over the phone, he specifically tells Emma not to let Aicha sleep that night, no matter what. Last time that happened, Linda got killed. Now, if Aicha falls asleep, Emma herself could be in danger. Emma gets it and stays up talking to Aicha all night long. In the middle of their conversation, she shares that she gave Dasta another chance, because she also realized that she might not find another partner like Dasta. But in the middle of all this, Aicha accidentally dozes off. The second Emma tries to wake her up, an invisible and super powerful force slams her onto the floor from the bed. Then that force drags her across the floor and out of the room. Now that same shadow is back in the room. The same jinn who considers himself Aicha's husband. He lies down next to Aicha again, like this was his chance to come back. When Aicha wakes up in the final hours of the night, she has that same feeling again. Her body felt heavy, and her stomach was more swollen than before, like she was pregnant again. Now the question might pop up, how did Aicha get pregnant again so fast? But the thing to remember is that the flow of time in the jinn world isn't the same as in the human world, where only a few hours might have passed for us, maybe several weeks or months have passed for them. Or it could be the opposite. The point is that the jinn can mess with time. Now when Aicha feels like she's pregnant again, she's completely broken. In her anger and panic, she starts punching her own stomach, and she starts bleeding heavily. She stumbles out of the room and sees Emma laying unconscious nearby. Though she can't focus on Emma's condition right then, her whole focus is just on killing the baby growing inside her. She goes to the kitchen, grabs a coat hanger, and bends it to make it sharp like a tool. She starts attacking her own body. She was trying to kill the baby, which was Dasim's mark, but all her attempts fail. Just then, Ariel comes home and is shocked to see Aicha in that state. He immediately tries to wake Emma up, and the three of them head straight to Ustad's Johnny. Ustad's Johnny immediately lays Aicha on a bed and ties her hands and feet down so she can't hurt herself. Then he and his partners start a deep spiritual process aimed at getting Dasim out of Aicha. During this, Aicha was completely possessed. Her soul was now trapped in that dreamlike world she often saw herself in. There, she tries over and over to escape Dasim, but Dasim follows her and attacks her arm. This fight of her soul was also affecting the real world. Real wounds were appearing on Aicha's body. Aicha was now screaming like a totally possessed woman. Her face was distorted and her voice had changed. But Ustad's Johnny and his partners didn't flinch. They kept up the prayer. Then suddenly, the bed Aicha was on started levitating. Dasim's screams were now clearly audible. He starts revealing himself to scare everyone. But Johnny and his team aren't fazed. In the middle of this, Ariel steps forward. He sits next to Aicha and whispers in her ear, "Aicha, I need you. Please come back. We'll start our life together again. Just don't give up." Aicha is hearing these voices. Tears start to stream down her eyes. She shakes herself and remembers her wedding day, all the moments she spent with Ariel. Then she slowly starts repeating the Quranic verse Ustad's Johnny gave her. Her reading that shakes Dasim to the core. The building that was his imaginative prison starts to crumble. The gates break down, and the second the door opens, Aicha runs out of the prison and her soul returns to her body. In the real world, she suddenly goes quiet. her eyes open and she's back to normal. So, folks, the final part of the story gives us a glimpse of what happened 6 years later. Icha and Ariel are now living a happy married life. They have 2 adorable kids, and they've bought a new house in a quiet spot away from the city. One day when they're all sitting in the lawn, Icha suddenly asks, "Ima, where's Arka?" Arka, their oldest son, had walked toward the main gate while playing. Near the gate, there's another being standing in front of Arka, a face that Icha had seen before in her bad dreams. The same Dasim who used to take over her soul. Ima runs over there and takes Arka inside the house. She sweetly tells him, "Baby, stay away from strangers, no matter how nice they seem." But Arka's answer is a little strange. That uncle was really nice. That means he was feeling a connection to Dasim. From here, the story raises a new suspicion. And the most shocking part is that this story isn't completely fictional. And with that, the story ends right here. Be sure to let us know what you thought of this movie in the comments.